Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to join in the debate and the discussion. First of all, let me join with our colleagues from over the aisle, over the other side, in expressing our concern for the health and well-being of our fallen comrade, or rather should I say the patient who. I want to tell you that she is having the best care we can afford. She was seen almost immediately as she entered accident and emergency, and as I understand it, she's underwent a CT scan, and medical personnel, the entire team with the necessary skills are already reviewing that. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and we do understand your concern, and we will try to work with you together. Now, Mr. Speaker, having said that, the budget this year is a special budget, but yet it still reveals characteristics of previous budgets over the past few years. This is an early budget. It's a good tradition that the Ministry of Finance, including the entire team headed by Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh, have been able to re-establish. This year, it is early in January, and I think so about the same time last year. That is why I want to thank Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh and his team specifically, not only on my own behalf, but on the behalf of the regional executive officers and other REOs and so on in the regions, who will be the managers to implement this budget. Why I'm emphasizing this point? In the past, we might have passed the budget 3 years into any particular year. But these apparatchiks, the REOs, the deputy REOs, the RHOs, the heads in the departments in the regions, will be expected to, in that shortened time of, say, 9 months, to be able to deliver on a 12-month budget. This change is very much welcome. You would recall that in the past years, towards the end of the year, the leadership in the different regions would be scrambling to get projects done. And that was unfair to them. So I want to thank the powers that be in the Ministry of Finance, especially Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh and his hard-working team, for getting us back on track. 2 or 3 consecutive years, and that's it. These things might not be appreciated by even many parliamentarians here, and more so by the public. Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh did his work early in the previous year, started about the first quarter, and that is why we have an early budget. What I do understand, and this might be a state secret, he's attempting to have it done this year in December. So for the next year, we would already be hitting the ground running from the 1st of January. Okay, I'm happy that I got your attention. You showed me that is so. Now, this early budget does many things. It builds on the achievements we've already had on the previous budget. You can see it in the narrative if you did look at the various public books coming out, or volumes coming out from the Ministry of Finance. Every detail is there if you pay attention and if you put a little effort into it. That this budget is based on the achievements and will continue, in some cases, the projects are multi-year. So I want to congratulate them, the team, for doing that and pointing it out to us, especially in the speech by Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh when he introduced the budget. And I'd like to call on our colleagues across the way to probably put a little bit more energy, a little bit more time into doing that. Comparing what we have now, it's all there in the various tomes, the volume 1, 2, and 3, and you'll see where some of you might even want to change parties, because by now you should realize, Mr. Chairman, that they're wasting time. They're wasting time over there, and some of them are quite bright. Some of them are quite bright from their performances we saw, but they seem to be trapped over there. We're liberating you. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, I'm told that the PPPC is extending the civic component. You might find a place there. And I'm told that he who laughs the loudest sometimes will be the first one. Now, I know the minister will go into great depth. I know when Minister Dr. Anthony comes to the fore, he will do a good job of putting on more and more information. So I will restrict myself to certain things. Thank you from myself for the early budget, but more so, the apparatchiks in the regions are very thankful, and they're happy. The next thing they want to announce publicly, with the way the Ministry of Finance engaged them for months rather, and that's worth applauding. When we were sometime last year, after the second half of the year, we might have been thinking about early Christmas, going home early and so on. Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh and his team were traveling the country, and in some cases having meetings by virtual means to get the details that they want. So they've been working. As a matter of fact, I'm told that this year they'll start working as early as March or July, to prepare next year's budget. So congratulate you for that, and not only from myself and the team over here, but the team that will be. I'm hearing a voice in the wilderness. Mr. Speaker, can you protect me? Okay. So what does it mean to be have an orderly budget? It means giving more time to those persons who we sometimes look angrily on in the regions when they do not perform by December. And in some cases, they're hustling to get rid of the monies by doing knickknacks in the regions and asking for waivers. That will not be happening this year. And if it does, it means that they will be putting their professional reputation on the stake, on the chopping block. Health. The difference in the sums allocated for this year and last year are significant. In other words, as one observer pointed out, the PPPC does things to scale. We don't do anything too small. The increases are, for example, from 90.2 billion Guyana dollars last year, now it's already 129.8 billion. A quantum leap. And why is that so? Because we're changing the architecture, we're changing the physical architecture in the sector. 6 new hospitals are going to be built. As a matter of fact, in many cases, the foundations have far gone in preparations. And it would be good if probably, as a part of health solidarity, the Parliament can decide, not only one committee in the Parliament, to go visit, give support, give solidarity to the workers on the site there. 6 new hospitals, including a maternal and pediatric hospital, meaning what? Maternal meaning the women who give birth, or those who have given birth recently, up to, say, the first 2 months of the post-delivery time, and the infants. That will be one of the 6 brand new hospitals. And we're not rushing it. We're doing it. The plans are there. Foundations have started to be laid in many cases. And what we started to do, Mr. Chairman, and is reflected in this year's budget, train. Because, of course, some wise addict over there made a very good observation that you're building hospitals, but you don't have people. That is so. But we don't have enough now. The hospital will be supplied by nurses who will be coming out and expanded nursing school and expanding nursing financing for nursing training. It's all there in this budget. Again, I want to point out the team that helped craft the budget, the Office of the President and the Office of Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh's Minister of Finance, did a great job, coordination. And what's more, they not only coordinated among themselves at the top level, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of, and the OP Office of the President, but they actually had numerous meetings in the regions. Just so he's awake. The guy's awake. Happy I'm catching your attention. So it was a grassroots effort in the regions, especially on the coastal areas, but also in the high hinterland. There are many other things for the hinterland that are specific to them. For example, bringing up in Letem, there's going to be certain installation of certain equipment, new equipment. And why? Although we might not have the complete team to exploit fully those equipment, there would be visiting teams. But you have to have the equipment there. And the next thing is in the budget, it's pointed out too. Once you have expensive equipment, you got to be able to spend to keep them up to date, keep them maintained. That sometimes is a bother in terms of the expensive costs that it incurs. And in some cases, they're so specialized, such equipment so specialized and expensive that you have to import the manufacturer's person to even beyond the warranty period to repair them, to maintain them. So the next thing you'll notice in this budget is training. Training on the health is very much expanded this year in terms of the volume of money that is being allocated. And I suspect you will already recognize that part of that money will go to training local persons to do exactly the repairs. Remember, there's a guarantee period for these expensive equipment. And if you are supposed to TTV or so with them, you would have lost the opportunity to bring in the specialists who are obliged by contract to, for the first year, for example, or first 6 months, come and repair them, maintain them. So training under the Ministry of Health will include training of specialists, biomedical technicians, they're called, or biomedical engineers, especially a very expensive and a very specialist area. In some cases, some bits and pieces of the machines are repaired by only specific people, in some cases by the manufacturer, or by people they would have trained in the country where it is bought, like Guyana, for example. So we're on the right track, we're back on track. And we're now going to be backing up this time. It's straightforward. We're going to be going forward, but in an informed manner. And the methods we've done to make sure that we inform is the visitations. And I can tell you this, when we were in the opposition for that short, unfortunate period, and we walked around in the regions, we never saw the leaders of that party, the PNC, APNO FC, doing such information gathering, because the basic information gathering has to be done not by telephone, but you have to be there. And I want to tell you, I must thank again the regional health officers who devoted lots of their time, sometimes at short notice, for us to visit, revisit, and revisit again certain areas until we decided that we had the right information to go into the budget. So what I'm saying, this is not an exercise only by the Dr. Ashley Kumar Singh and his team, but the support, we need to value that support, the support from those at the grassroots. And practical experience shows that sometimes we would have been missing certain things if you had not gone down. And this is not only for this year's budget, but in the past. You have to go there. Many politicians, I am going to exclude myself from that, boast that they're running down to the grassroots. We do that, but we don't boast about it, but that's where you get information. For example, recently we had completed something called I am firmly seated, bedded in the grassroots. That's what I'm saying. And that's why I could have compared. When you were in office, we didn't see you. Didn't see the grassroots. No, that's going a bit young. So we have the fusion of efforts at the central level, that is the Ministry of Health. And of course, the Ministry of Health, as you would have noticed in the budget, has 7 different programs. One is dedicated to standards, and that is the program which sends out the operators to check that the machines are being maintained properly, and so on. And what's more, there's the next difficulty we're trying to overcome. Sometimes you have in the sector very expensive equipment, but there's no standardization. So even if you are to train, and I see the Minister of Public Services empathizing with me, so if you train for one machine to be repaired, that team of maintenance people will not be able to operate in another region on another piece of equipment. We're trying to standardize the purchase, the trademarks, and self-standardized approach. Ordinary people like me, you will understand that if you have a car and somebody else has a similar car, it's easier for you to come together and put your heads together and repair the car instead of having 2 different models and so on. I think you got a message. We're putting great store by this, having the right people in the right place at the right time, not only in the clinical aspect of it, but in the what? The maintenance of it. So that we do not, well, incidentally, that young lady, our colleague, has just, I think, undergone a CT scan at the Georgia Public Hospital, and they're reviewing it. So yes, I'm happy for that prompt. We're pushing up for that level, and it will have to be across a period of years. So by 2025, we should be having all the basic equipment. I ain't hard days, you know. Any hard days people are looking for, just check across there. But I'm feeling, I want to be kind this time, so I won't rub them too much. And I'm told that the most hard days one is the one who is make the most noise. Okay. You said it, I didn't. So we're trying to we standardize all our expensive equipment, and there are going to be lots of that, not only in this budget for this year, but if you look at the prospective budget and figures for that for next year, you'll see that it's massive investment. The 5 years that we lost to the fluke PNC victory, really, really lick us up. We did 10 in the first few years of the PPC government. We did up to 10 hospitals, new hospitals. Diamond Leonard study Michael in Port Morant, extensive increases in the investment in Morocco. That was in the past. Our idea, and this was very much supported and even guided by Dr. Jagdeo, was that we were preparing basic infrastructure at that period so that in the near future, which should have been now, we had the misfortune of losing the elections, the controversial election, we would have been now going the higher level of infrastructure. Now we've done that after being out of power for 5 years rather, and we're going to be having 6 new hospitals I refer to, practically all the coastal regions, and let them will be getting it. That is something that we should be applauding the government for. 6 new hospitals by 2025. Now, to do that, stone and concrete and glass are not enough. Therefore, massive training has started. I heard some ill-formed comments that we should not be bringing in nurses. The mere fact is, and this government is not lying to you, we're telling you the truth, we've not been, yes, you said that, why are we importing skilled, we're doing that, why we're doing that is because we, in the meantime, upskilling our training of our nurses. For example, remember we had put in night training? Remember I had put in night training for nurses? You remember the opposition? I found a building in Kingston, nice building, seized it, I needed it, and I got good support from the then Ministry of Finance, and we had to do little repairs. When we started, that's the only way you get enough nurses, enough No, I hear a voice across there agreeing with me. Not only this side, but there. So I think, who didn't agree? Okay, well, I'll enlighten you during the break. During the coffee break, I'll enlighten you. So we have,
Honorable Minister, that chit chat has used up your first allocation of 15 minutes.
but I think
Really.
I've caught their attention, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Oh,
No, no, I'm waiting for the 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, may the honorable member have 5 minutes to conclude his
These are going to be
presentation.
the key 5 minutes.
Thank you, Minister Parag. Honorable
We're
Member,
going to elucidate
Dr.
certainly. So you see, the
Ramsarran.
general trend is moving in several directions at the same time, while at the same time allocating, understanding that two things: buildings themselves, theaters themselves, operating tables themselves, even the most modern, would be very a burden and quite useless if you do not have what? The people, what managers like to refer to now as the HR, and that is the next big component that you see in this budget, medical training, medical in Guyana, and one part of it which is funded by this budget too is, in some cases, and we're a small country, we have a small medical fraternity, in many cases when we do not have the skills to train or to upgrade people who have already been trained, we will be importing those. Building relationships with all the key universities and university hospitals across the land, across the world. And we don't, until we get there. So we're going to be importing the skills to initially train and at the same time create here our pedagogues, our people who will teach our people here, teach our the youngsters here. And this is not only for the doctors, this is for the nursing. The nursing in this budget, you'll notice, nursing will have a big explosion, positive explosion. As a matter of fact, and some people over there did mention it, we're losing our nurses. Why you think? Because they're good. And we have already broken that discussion. Should we not train for countries that want our nurses, especially, for example, in North America and Canada and the small islands? Can't we say, come, let's train our nurses for you? And that's where we're working on that. Under my second term as a Minister of Health, we had actual active discussions with leadership in the small islands, the leadership of the health sector and the public service, to do exactly that. And we did start it not with nurses or doctors, but with the other health workers, lesser qualified health workers. I remember in one case coming back from an international conference where I'd met some people and I invited them to take advantage of our training, not as nurses and doctors only, but as laboratory technicians. And before I could have turned my back, a delegation was already there. The mama, the older lady, bringing 9 Caribbean students to join our programs, and we were happy. And what I did, I said, we will not take a cent from you. We invite you, we'll help you find housing, but we can't pay it. And they said, okay, Guyana is so good. Big brother. That particular delegation started to refer to Guyana as Big Brother. And we're happy we extended our hands there and we gave them the training free. Initially, we gave them transportation from where they live into the training centers free. And then they what? They were on the hand to pay. We even located houses where they could rent. What does that mean? What does that mean? The warriors, wellness warriors. What does that mean? It means that the health sector can bring in money into the country, not only by offering services of a particular nature, but by actually teaching. And that is why I think even the opposition should make known to themselves, there's a nice little booklet. The training opportunity is given by the Ministry of Health. And those, if you have friends overseas and they want to come train it, we can bring them in, but we can give them in some aspect free training, like we did with the small islands. Yeah, but some of them say they want other fancy things in it, so we're looking at it. And that's the next point I heard. I wanted to tell you about, before I take my seat, the links with very excellent international hospitals and centers of learning. Mount Sinai was mentioned, there's so many others, but we'll bring it up later on across the year as we speak. Centers of excellence. As a matter of fact, they started to come here. They're fighting, tumbling over each other to get here. We welcome that. We will not give up our sovereignty. Medical tourism, another aspect of it. I see we have some bright fellows over this side too. So yes, medical tourism from this aspect. If you look back into our history, dentistry, Guyanese sometimes come back home to do what? Go to their favorite dentist. We are going to be encouraging that not only for dentistry and dental interventions, but exactly. The Portmont National Ophthalmology Hospital was meant to be that. But you remember how Moses Nagamoto opposed it? Kemrad Ramdatan opposed it, stood up and voted it down. And I never got the money to complete it. We are going to be doing that now. Honorable Kemraj. Where is he? I hope that is ale, Adam's ale. Okay, so coming back to the in conclusion, we have it. Again, I'm hearing that nagging voice, that annoying voice. Lots of noise and no sense. Anyhow, so we have a good mix of creating the human HR, human resources needed, while at the same time you see buildings going up. What I would suspect we can do, I have to speak to Ms. Gail Teixeira, who is my boss in this regard, we can probably organize joint visits to these sites, to these sites not only as parliamentarians in a particular health committee, but in the general parliament, and you'll be impressed how we, as a matter of fact, I think if we do that, we will definitely have to expand the civic. Because I'm told that by the end of some trips, by the end of some visits to certain hospitals, some of them were already concluding we got to join them, or otherwise you're getting left out. So I'm doing that especially for you. You can pass it on through the chair, through to your colleagues, but you got to start behaving properly. You got to be fit and proper. You know, some of the lawlessness we've seen would not be tolerated in the health sector, especially when we're expecting many Guyanese based overseas to come back to do not only traditionally dental work, but any other thing. So we're right now actively equipping or giving information to the Foreign Affairs Ministry so that they can pass it to our embassies. Let Guyanese who might have skills and want to come back home to Guyana can contribute. And incidentally, we've already had such offers, and we're looking into them. How do you accredit people who are, you know they have the skills, but you have to go through the paperwork. Guyanese who have retired, who have gained good reputation in centers of excellence in North America and Canada, and even in Britain. How they want to come back now and give something. So we have those, it's not only we have in the schools in terms of physical infrastructure, but we're already looking for the faculty. And of course, over there, if you have any persons you know, migrated from Guyana and in contact with them, we will welcome your information to tell us how to get to them. And incidentally, all while we're speaking about...
Incidentally, honorable member, you need to wrap up.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is this. Incidentally, some of the things we failed to do because we lost power are still in our manifesto. And we'll be strictly keeping to that, and I'd advise the Guyanese public and even the opposition. Look at our manifesto. Some of you might lose consciousness when you realize how powerful it is. But those of you who do survive that activity, come tell us, yes, Dr. Ramsarran, yes, the doctor, other doctors and so on. You have done well because the PPPC has been working quietly in and out of government to realize what? Its manifesto. So with that, I thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will be available at the coffee break to elucidate and enlighten the opposition members. And I was just starting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, honorable member, Dr.